Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, welcome to lecture 3 of Functional English 1. This course is meant for associate degree in education students. In today's lecture, lecture number 3, we are going to talk about social interaction. And in particular, we'll focus on greetings and gratitude. First of all, let me talk a little bit about social interaction itself. Social interaction is probably the most important thing for which language is used. If you think about language that we use every day, how much of it is about greeting each other? How many times a day do we say Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, Aap kaise hain, kya hal chal hain? I think 80% of the times, majority of the people, they use greetings. Other functions of language such as inviting, requesting, threatening, etc. are not very frequent, not very common. So today's lecture is really very important because if you know how to socially interact with other people in English, you would be considered a proficient speaker. I can here give you an example of myself. You remember in the first lecture I told you that I've been teaching in China, Beijing for some time, and during my stay in Beijing I learned a little bit of Chinese. I just learned few phrases that not many, just maybe 9 or 10 phrases that were very common, and whenever I went out in the bazaar I would speak out those sentences and people would often be impressed. And they would expect that I know language very well. But in fact, I just knew in the beginning, I just knew few sentences. So the point I want to make here is that the basic phrases that we use every day are usually very few. We don't have to worry too much about learning new words. If we have learned some basic phrases, in the beginning it's okay. Now, social interaction can be of various kinds, but in particular we will focus today on greetings and gratitude. And you know what greetings mean? Like hello, hi are kinds of greetings. And gratitude means to say thanks. If someone has done something good for us, if someone has been kind to us, we usually say thanks. And again, it is very important language function that we need to perform. Now, before we move on further, let's look at the contents of lecture 2. Now, in lecture 2, we learned how to form appropriate requests and inquiries. We learned how to respond to these inquiries. I believe you can still recall some of these requests and inquiries, like, would you mind repeating what we learned last time? And you know how to respond to these inquiries as well. In lecture 2, we also learned how to differentiate between requests and commands. And along with it, we also learned how to recognize and how to change degree of politeness. Because in social interaction, it is really very important to be polite. And in varying situations, when we are talking to different people in different contexts, we need to be more or less polite. So it is an important skill that we need to learn. In fact, one of the important skills that we need is called interpersonal skills. And interpersonal skills includes appropriate use of language and social manners, like how polite you are, how courteous you are in various situations, and how well you can understand those situations in the community. And the last point that we learned in lecture 2 was PCE, Practical Classroom English, for effective classroom management. Now, of course, being teachers, it is really very important for us. And if you can recall, it means using language, English language, for various purposes, for controlling the class, for making the students be disciplined, for giving instructions, even for greeting and other language that we normally speak. So if you are using English throughout your class, then you are using practical classroom English. So that was a review of lecture 2. Now we move on to what we will learn in lecture number 3. The objectives of lecture 3 are, and if you follow the instructions and do the exercises, after completing lecture 3, you should be able to greet others in a variety of situations. And by variety of situations, I mean to different interlocutors, to different speakers of different ages. So you should be able to greet people younger than you, people older than you, people who are of the same age as you are. You should be able to greet your boss, someone who has better social status than you do, or how to greet someone who is your subordinate, who works under you. Similarly, we will also learn how to respond to a positive event. Positive event means a good news. So if someone has just given you a good news, how would you respond to it? Someone says, I've passed in the exam. How would you react to it? How would you respond to this good news? Similarly, like always, we will learn how to use formal and informal expressions of gratitude appropriately. So how to say thanks suitably, appropriate in the context and appropriate according to the situation. So we'll actually make a list of formal and informal expressions that you can use and you can improve your English skills. And today we are also going to include writing. So far we have been focusing on listening and speaking, but today you will also learn how to write a short thank you note. Yeah, but you don't need to be frightened, because thank you note is really a very simple paragraph, a very short text. So you don't actually need to you don't need to write very lengthy essays or that sort of thing. The next objective of today's lecture is write a formal letter of thanks. This, if you have been writing formal letters already, and if you are aware of the format of the formal letter, it won't be difficult at all. And last but not the least, you will also learn how to comprehend texts that contain expressions of gratitude. So in the end, actually, we are going to study, we are going to read a short story, really very short story, that has expressions of gratitude in it. And it also has a lesson for us. So let's start. First of all, we look at various kinds of greetings. And one of the common greeting is welcome. And you know how to say welcome in different parts of the world, in various languages. People use different words to welcome others. Like in Arabic you say ahlan wa sahlan. In English you say welcome. In Urdu you say khosh amdeed. These are greetings. And in all languages, these greetings are really very important, because without these basic words, we are not able to make social relations, and we are not able to interact properly. And you know that if you don't know a language, you go into a foreign country and you don't know the language that is spoken there. If you just learn few words of welcome, for example, or few greetings, you know how happy they would feel. So instead of, for example, if you go to China and instead of saying hello or hi, if you say ni hao, you don't know how much pleased they would feel. And since English is an international language and it is spoken in most parts of the world, we should all know the basic greetings in it, and we should be able to make basic social conversations. So let's look at different kinds of greetings first. The simple greetings, you might call them as everyday greetings. And by everyday greetings, I mean simple words like hi, hey, hello, how are you, how is it going, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. And you've learned all these greetings, I think, already, so it's a sort of repetition today. You might think that these are pretty easy and you already know them. Yes, you do. But for social interactions, they are very crucial. So we look at everyday greetings. Another kind of greeting is called greetings that are associated with special events. Like if it is someone's birthday, if it is Father's Day, if it is Mother's Day, if it is Eid celebration or any other festival, we can use, on these special occasions, we can use certain greetings. Like if it is someone's birthday, we can say happy birthday in English. And on these occasions, sometimes we also have to write greeting cards, or sometimes maybe we send short SMS, or maybe an email. So we will learn how we can use English expressions to greet on such special events. Then, being teachers, we should also know what kind of greetings are used in the classroom. I think some of you already do it when you go into the classroom. Before you start your lecture formally, probably you ask such questions as, how was your weekend? Is everybody okay? Right? These kind of greetings are pretty common in the language classroom. Even if you are teaching some other subject, probably you start with such greetings. Then you have business greetings, and of course in business situations it is very important to be formal and polite. And most of the sale deals and most of the things that you want to sell, you will only be successful if you know how to use these greetings effectively. The commonest are nice to meet you, pleased to see you, etc., etc. Similarly, if you go to a party, the kind of greetings that are common there, we'll also have a look at it. But basically, we'll focus more on the first two kinds of greetings here, which are everyday greetings, and special events or greeting cards. And of course, we'll also talk about other kinds of greetings, but our basic focus would be on the first two types that are shown here. Now, how to greet informally? Of course, all the greetings are not the same. In informal situations, we use different kinds of expressions. And in formal situations, we use different kind of expressions. Now, before I explain what kind of expressions you can use in order to greet informally, I would like you to listen to a short piece of audio, and while you listen to it, you should be attentive and you should note down what expressions are used in order to make this greeting informal and in order to make it effective. This audio clip has been taken from BBC English Learning website, and on BBC English Learning website they have some audios that are called how to audios. They tell us how to do certain things, so they are really very relevant for our functional English course, such as how to greet someone, how to make a request, how to apologize, how to express thanks, etc., etc. Now I want you to listen to this audio, How to Greet Informally by BBC English Learning, and pay attention to the useful expressions.
Hello, welcome to How To with me, Jackie Dalton. In this programme, how to greet people in informal contexts. There are lots of different phrases and expressions you can use, and today you'll learn some of the most popular and useful ones. One of the first words you probably learnt in English was hello, a very common way of greeting someone and suitable in both formal and more relaxed situations. Now we're going to hear some other expressions, and these are for informal situations. So here we go. Listen to this short clip of Matt saying hello to Jane. What word is used here instead of hello?
Hey Jane, how you doing?
It was simply hey, more informal than hello.
Hey Jane.
It sounds a bit like hi, which you've almost certainly used before as another slightly less formal version of hello. Hi Jane with H-I and hey Jane with H-E-Y both sound relaxed. Now for our next greeting. What's this one?
All right, Matt, how's it going?
All right, Carrie, how are you?
All right. That's very informal.
All right, Carrie, how are you?
All right, Carrie. In England and Australia, you often hear it with mate, an informal word meaning friend, which refers to the person you're speaking to. All right, mate. So a reminder of our opening expressions for greeting so far. Hello, Richard. Hi, Richard. Hey, Richard. All right, Richard. Or, all right, mate. So you've said hi to someone. What next? Well, the normal thing, as in so many cultures, is to ask them how they are.
How are you?
The most straightforward phrase. How are you? But how else could you say that in a relaxed situation?
Hello, Carrie, you all right?
You all right? Of course, the most correct way of saying this would be, are you all right? But it often just becomes, you all right?
Hello, Carrie, you all right?
And yes, you're right. We've just looked at all right as another way of saying hello, but we also use it to ask how someone is. Now listen for another way to ask how someone is.
Hey Jane, how you doing?
How are you doing? Again, how are you doing would be more correct, but we often miss out the R, so it's just, how are you doing?
Hey Jane, how you doing?
A variation on that, which you're probably more likely to hear in Australia, is how you going?
All right, Carrie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Neil. How you going?
How you going?
How you going?
How's it going is another form you might hear.
All right, Matt. How's it going?
You're listening to How To with bbclearningenglish.com.
So how could you respond when you're asked how you are? One of the most common answers is, fine, thanks. But here are some more. All of them are quite informal.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Good, thanks.
Not bad, which means quite good, and good thanks are both used here.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Good, thanks.
You could also say, all right, thanks, or okay, thanks, or very well, thanks. So to sum up those last expressions, we've got not bad, good thanks, all right, thanks, or okay, thanks, or very well, thanks. After you've answered that question, the most usual thing to do is to return the question and ask the other person if they are well, as in these examples.
All right, Matt. How's it going?
Yeah, no trouble. How about you? All right.
Yeah, not bad.
Hey Jane, how you doing?
Good, thanks. And you?
You can return the question with a simple, and you? Or, how about you?
All right, Matt. How's it going?
Yeah, no trouble. How about you? All right.
Yeah, not bad.
Hey Jane, how you doing?
Good, thanks. And you?
So now a recap of the key phrases in this program. Hello. Hi. Hey. All right. How are you? How are you doing? How are you going? How's it going? You all right? Good, thanks. Fine, thanks. Not bad, not bad. All right, thanks. I'm okay. And you? How about you? What about you?
Okay, now we move on to the second part, which is how to greet formally. You have just listened to how to greet informally. Now you are going to listen to a similar audio, but this time the situation is different, so you will hear formal greeting. And this audio is also by BBC English Learning, and this is also from How To program. I want you to listen to it attentively, and like before, I would like you to note down to pay attention to the useful expressions that are used for greeting someone formally.
Hello, I'm Jackie Dalton. This program is about greetings and the language you might use if you're greeting people in quite formal situations when you want to sound polite. I'd like you to start by listening to this greeting. Try to guess what the situation might be.
Good morning, sir.
Using sir in a greeting sounds very formal. It gives extra status or importance to the person you're talking to, and there are several situations where you might hear it. One of the most common situations is in the service industry. It could be a hotel receptionist talking to a guest, a waiter talking to a customer in a restaurant, or it could be in a shop, anywhere where people are dealing with customers or clients. If you were speaking to a woman, you wouldn't say sir, you would say madam.
Good morning, madam.
It's nearly always the people offering the service who would use this kind of language. If a waiter says, good evening, sir, you would just reply with good evening. You wouldn't say good evening, sir, back. This is because in this particular situation, you're the one being given the most importance, so you don't need to show this extra sign of respect. Likewise, if you walk into a hotel and the receptionist says, good afternoon, madam, it would usually sound strange to say, good afternoon, madam, back. As well as in the service industry, there are other situations where you might hear sir and madam. Listen to this one and guess what the situation might be.
Good morning, sir. It's a real honour to have you here.
The situation this makes me think of is of greeting a VIP, perhaps a very important politician or leader who you meet. In some cases, people use it when they're greeting someone much older than they are, as a sign of respect. Or you may occasionally hear it used in the workplace, where employees want to show respect for their superiors. As you listen to this clip, again note how only the employee uses the word sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, James.
You're listening to How To with bbclearningenglish.com.
So far we've looked over some of those situations where you might use very formal language in greetings, such as sir or madam. You might use it in the service industry, with VIPs, with much older people, and sometimes with bosses at work. But as well as using these kinds of words, what else is it that makes language in greetings sound more formal and polite? We're going to hear two different versions of a greeting between James and his boss, Mr. Jones. Listen and decide which one is the most formal, and think about why. Here's the first one.
Morning.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks. You?
Yeah, fine.
Now listen to the second greeting.
Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
The second greeting was more formal. Why? Well, one of the most obvious differences is in how long the phrases are. Good morning sounds more formal than morning because morning is shorter, and it's a slightly lazier way of greeting someone, if you like. Hello is also a bit more formal than hi. I'm very well, thank you also sounds more formal than fine, thanks or good, thanks. Again, mainly because it takes longer to say. This doesn't mean you should never say hi in formal situations. It's just that if you want to sound more polite, using more complete words and phrases will help. Listen again to the two exchanges and listen out for those differences. First, the less formal one.
Morning.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thanks. You?
Yeah, fine.
Now, the more formal one.
Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Hello, James. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So words that are longer tend to sound more formal and polite, while shorter, abbreviated words are more likely to sound informal and friendly. Now let's look at some other handy phrases you could use in greetings. We're about to hear another clip. Madeline and Angus are both at the same dinner party. They've met a couple of times before, but haven't seen each other for a while. Listen to their conversation.
Hello, Madeline. It's lovely to see you again. How are you?
Hello, Angus. I'm very well, thank you. Well, it's been a long time, hasn't it? How are things with you?
Lovely to see you again is a nice expression often used when you haven't seen someone for a while. Madeline says, it's been a long time, hasn't it? Another nice thing you can say in that situation. She finishes it with, how are things with you? Another way of saying, how are you? Listen again.
Hello, Madeline. It's lovely to see you again. How are you?
Hello, Angus. I'm very well, thank you. Well, it's been a long time, hasn't it? How are things with you?
Now, here's a recap of the language from this programme. Good morning. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, madam. How are you? How are things with you? I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to see you again. It's been a long time, hasn't it? And that brings us to the end of the programme.
Very good. I hope you have understood both the audio clips very well. I know that it's difficult to follow the British accent. Probably you can understand me very well, but it's difficult to follow the British accent. But the task was not really very difficult. I asked you to note down the useful expressions. And if you are unable to note down those expressions, don't panic, just relax, because in the handouts you would find the transcript of the two audio files that you have just listened to. So if you download those transcripts and look at the text and you should be able to understand what they were saying. But if you were able to note down, probably you learned some expressions that are pretty useful in greeting both in informally and formally. Okay, now we move on, and now we are going to talk about another skill, another language function which is really very common, and that is how to congratulate people. You can congratulate people again in a formal situation and in an informal situation. Informal congratulations can be constructed by the following expressions. If you just look at the word congratulations, probably the easiest way to congratulate anyone, whenever we hear a good news, we want to congratulate him or her. The most frequently used word is congratulations itself. But of course, this is not enough. We need to use a variety of language in order to suggest that we are proficient speakers and in order to make it look more interesting. Now, if you just look at this table here, this kind of table is called a substitution table, because what you can do is you can actually construct sentences by taking bits and pieces of language from each column. For example, you can say, "That's fantastic news." So what did we do here? We picked "that's" from the first column, "fantastic" from the second column, and "news" from the third column. So if we hear a good news from somebody, we can react to it informally by saying, "That's fantastic news." Or else we can say, "That's brilliant news." "That's great news." "That's wonderful news." "That's splendid news." So you see here we can use various kinds of words. We can say fantastic, brilliant, great, wonderful, splendid, and this list is not exhaustive. You can actually add some other adjectives here. So we can use any of these expressions. We can say, "That's fantastic news." "What brilliant news." That's fantastic. Sometimes we don't even need to say news, or although it's a bit old-fashioned now, but you can say, "How splendid," "How marvelous." And sometimes you don't even need to say the complete sentence. You can simply say, "Fantastic." Let me give you a context here. For example, someone comes and he says, "I have got the first prize. I've got the first prize in the sports competition." You can say, "What brilliant news." "That's fantastic." Or simply, "Fantastic." So there are various ways to respond to a good news or to say congratulations in informal situations. Now we look at formal congratulations. How to say congratulations in formal situations. Of course, we can use the same word, congratulations. Congratulations is, if you don't know any other word or any other expression, congratulation is probably the safest word that you can use. But remember, earlier I talked to you, and earlier I suggested that if you want to become a proficient user of English language, you don't need to look for safer words. Instead, you need to take risks, because language is learnt when we take risks and when we experiment with language. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are like learning steps in language learning. So of course you can say congratulations, but it's better to leave your convenient zone there and try some other expressions, like instead of just saying congratulations, you can say congratulations on getting married. So if someone has got married, you can say congratulations on getting married. And because this is formal congratulation, you can actually write this sentence on cards, and if you are sending a short letter or SMS, you can use these expressions in formal situations. So you can say congratulations on getting married, congratulations on your good news, and in very formal situations you can also say, I'm really pleased for you. I'm really pleased for you. I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy for you. I'm really delighted for you. I'm really delighted for you. Instead of for you, you can also say to hear about. So for example, you can say, I'm really pleased to hear about your marriage. I'm really pleased to hear about your marriage. I'm really happy to hear about your promotion. I'm really happy to hear about your promotion. I'm really delighted to hear about your good news. I'm really delighted to hear about your good news. So far we have learned various expressions for greeting each other in both formal and informal situations, and we've also learned how to congratulate someone in formal and informal situations. Now we move on and we look at some other useful expressions for congratulations. If someone tells us a good news, he expects a lot from us. If someone is sharing a good news for us, if someone is sharing a good news with us, he is expecting a lot more than mere word fantastic. If we just say fantastic and then become quiet or then become silent, it won't be really very helpful. So we now look at some exclamations of surprise. Usually we express or we show our surprise whenever we listen to a good news. For example, we can say, wow, wow. Or if someone comes and says, I've got the first position in the exam. You can say, really? Really? Now this really is not really a question here. It's an exclamation of surprise. And it is really appropriate using in this context. Or sometimes, for example, we can also use the phrases, did you? Or are you? Depending on the context. Of course, this did or are will be according to the verb that has been used in the good news. For example, if someone comes and says, I got first position in the exam, you will say, did you? Or if someone says that I'm very happy today, you will say, are you? Not did you. This time you will say, are you? And of course, after expressing your surprise, you need to ask further question to keep the conversation going on. Of course, if someone is sharing a good piece of information with you, he or she expects that you will be equally excited and you would like to know more about it. So you need to ask follow-up questions. For example, if someone comes and says, I've got first position in the exam, you can say, really? And then when he says, of course, yes, you say, are you excited? Now, of course, asking such a question like, are you excited, seems pretty much obvious or self-explanatory. But for social interaction, we do have to exchange such sentences. Sometimes you can ask other follow-up questions such as, so when did you receive the medal? So when did you get the result? So when did you come to know about it? So when did you hear about it? So in other words, you can ask about how he or she feels about it by asking a question such as, are you excited? Or you can ask about its time, because usually good news is bound with time, and it is important to know when he or she received this news. The third question is actually about the future plans. After hearing this good news, what do you expect him or her to do? So you can ask a question like, and are you going to, for example, if someone got first position in the exam, you can say, and are you going to take admission in the engineering university? And are you going to take admission abroad, etc., etc. So in order to be polite, it is important that whenever you hear good news, you congratulate people, and afterwards you also have some follow-up questions. So it is important that you use these and other such follow-up questions. Okay, now so far you have learned some expressions for greeting each other, and you've also learned some expressions for congratulating each other. And I would like you to practice it at home. If with your colleagues, with your friends, you can exchange such dialogues, short dialogues, you will really be able to become a proficient speaker. For example, you can one of you can give a good news and the other person can respond to it. Now here I have some prompts for congratulations. By prompts I mean some clues. So just imagine that I have got a good news, and once I share that good news with you, how would you respond to it? If I say, I just got a new job, how would you respond to it? I repeat, I just got a new job. I just got a new job. Good, really. So if someone comes to me and says, I just got a new job, I would probably say, oh, really? When did you get it? Or I would say, oh, fantastic. So are you planning to join from tomorrow? If someone comes and says, I got promoted, how am I supposed to respond to it? Now try it yourself. I'm going to say, I got promoted. How would you respond to it? I got promoted. Yeah, I can imagine that you probably have the good right answer. So if someone comes and says, I got promoted, I can say, fantastic, congratulations, wonderful, that's fantastic news. When did you get promoted? Okay. So similarly, if someone comes and says, I bought a new car, I would say, wonderful, That's a fantastic news. So when are we going to have a ride in the new car? If someone comes and says, I got married, I would definitely say, congratulations, good news. When did it happen? Or if someone says, I just performed Hajj, I would say, congratulations. When did you perform it? When did you come back? And the next one is really interesting. I am expecting. So I believe you understand what it means. This sentence is to be spoken by the females. And when a lady says, I am expecting, what she means by this is that she is expecting a baby. Okay, similarly, if someone has a good news and says, God has blessed me with a baby, what would you say? Probably you would say, oh, great to hear that. I'm glad to hear it. Is it a baby boy or a girl? I think that would be a natural question. Is it a baby boy or a girl? Is he all right? Is he healthy? So these are the kind of questions, follow-up questions that you can ask in this situation. And we've talked a lot about the last prompt, which is I've passed the exam. So I'm going to skip it and move on to the next slide. Okay, so far we have been focusing on listening and speaking. Now we move on to writing. Now, if someone does something good for us, we often say thank you. But rarely do we write about it. One of the important skills that we need to learn in English is that we need to learn how to write a thank you note. So now we look at this sample and we learn how to write a thank you note. First of all, let me explain that by note we mean a very short message. You can see it's hardly 2 paragraphs here. So if it is really very long, you would call it a letter. You wouldn't call it a note. A note is simply 1, 2 or 3 sentences, not more than that. Okay? And a thank you note is really very important. You might not know how happy it could make. I remember once I delivered a lecture for free somewhere, and after 2 weeks I received a thank you note, and I have been giving lectures at various places. I sometimes get paid for that, sometimes I get certificates for that, but I remember that simple thank you note that I got in was a real treasure for me. So let's look at this thank you note first. You start with the salutation, Dear Dr. Price. In salutation you start it with the word dear, and then you have the second name, and here you also have the title, Dr. Price. Thank you for seeing me yesterday. I appreciated the chance to discuss our new products with you. Your opinions are always helpful and interesting. I hope the latest product will fit your needs. And if you look at the contents of this note, you would understand that this is in a business situation, and someone appreciates the chance to discuss his new products with the speaker, with Dr. Price. And then he thanks him for his opinion and his helpful, and says that his opinions, Dr. Price's opinion, has been helpful and interesting. And then he also hopes that his latest product will fit Dr. Price's needs. It's always a pleasure to see you. You can see that this is a very polite expression and it is used in business situations. So it's kind of a business greeting. And then you have best regards, and after best regards, usually you sign it with your own name. So this is a short thank you note sample. Now, if you look at the handouts along with this lecture, you will find that I have included thank you notes, many samples of thank you notes. And these are thank you teacher notes, actually. So a lot of thank you notes that have been sent to the teacher, either by the student himself or herself, or by the parents of the kids. And I think it's important not just for learning English, it is also an important social skill that we learn to thank for services that people render for us. So it is important that we look at this thank you note, and next time if anyone does something good to us, we should make it a habit to jot down a short thank you note. It will help us practice our language, and it will also be good it will also be good for appreciating the services of people who care about us, who serve us in different ways. Now, a note is simple and short, but a letter is not. Sometimes we have to write a long letter of appreciation, a long thank you letter. And here I have taken a sample. It is a thank you letter sample, and it uses the same format of the letters that usually we write. For example, look at the first section first. 7 London Road, Manchester, 30th December 2005. Whose address do you think it is? Yes, it is the sender's address. It's the sender's address, not the recipient's, right? So someone who is sending this letter, it is his or her address. And then you have the date line. And in the date line, we write 30th December 2005. You can also write December first. December 30th, 2005. And then you have salutation again, dear Uncle Bill. And well, you can say thank you for anything. If you have received a gift, if someone has met with you, if someone has given valuable pieces of advice to you, you can say thanks. Now here, the writer of this letter, he thanks Uncle Bill and he says, "Thank you very much for the French cookery book you gave me. The recipes look wonderful and I'll certainly enjoy using it. I hope you and Auntie Susan had a good Christmas. We stayed at home but had a couple of day trips out nearby. Our local theater put on a production of A Christmas Carol, which was fun. I go back to university next week, and this year I'm going to have to study hard for the final exams. I've really enjoyed the course so far, but I'm not sure what to do once I get my degree. The university arranges career interviews, but I don't really have a clear idea of what I want to do. Hopefully, it will all become clearer during the course of the year. thank you again for the lovely present and Happy New Year. With much love, Anna. So you can see that in the first sentence or the first paragraph, the speaker actually thanked for the gift, for the present. And in the second paragraph, the writer, she talked about how she spent the weekend or how she spent the holidays, in fact, Christmas holidays. And in order to make it sound more informal. And then in the end, the last sentence, she said, thank you again for the lovely present and Happy New Year. So whenever you write a thank you letter, please make sure that you start your letter by thanking someone for the services or for the gift, and then you add a paragraph in order to give it an informal touch. So you can talk about your vacation, you can talk about the weekend, you can talk about your future plans, and then in the last paragraph you once again thank for the present, for the services, or whatever it is that you want to thank for. And then in informal letter you often close it with much love. You can say with much love from Anna, love from Anna, love, much love. All these expressions would do here. They are workable. Now we move on to heart of gratitude. Saying thanks is expressing gratitude, right? And there are many situations, there are many occasions when we have to express gratitude. But although socially, when we are in these situations, sometimes we say thanks, sometimes we don't. But there are a lot of things that are provided to us, but we take those things for granted, and usually we don't thank for those, right? Now, Heart of Gratitude is actually the title of a short story. It's a really very short story, and it is given in the handout, and I would like you to read it. And it is really very inspirational story, because it'll, apart from language learning, it'll also give us a moral lesson that we should learn how to value the things that we usually take for granted. There are lots of things in our life. For example, we are healthy, but seldom do we express our gratitude or thank to Almighty Allah that He has provided us with good health. So along with learning English language, we should also learn how to thank Almighty Allah for all the blessing, for all the good things that He has provided to us. So with this, we come to the end of today's lecture, and now I would like you to look at the summary of lecture 3, the main points once again. In lecture 3, we learned to greet others in a variety of situations, and we learned that there are different kinds of greetings. We learnt there is everyday greeting, there is greeting on special occasions, and there are business greetings, there are social greetings, and these days, you know, we also send greetings through SMS and through Facebook or other internet services. Today we also learned how to respond to a positive event, how to congratulate someone after hearing a good news. Similarly, we learned how to use formal and informal expressions of gratitude appropriately. The word appropriately is very important here because you may memorize or you may cram these formal and informal expressions, but if you don't know when and where to use it and how to use it, it'll be not appropriate. In the beginning it's okay. I would encourage you that you use it in various situations. You try it out. You learn by trial and error. Although if you just look at the cultural notes and if you know when to say what, it will be helpful. But even if you make slight mistakes in the beginning, it's okay because this is how we learn. Okay, today we also learned how to write a short thank you note. And we also learned how to write a formal letter of thanks. In fact, now you should be able to write both of these, and you can only become expert in it by practicing it and by writing as many thank you notes as you can, and by writing formal letters for every situation whenever you need to thank someone. And our last point today was to comprehend texts that contain expressions of gratitude. And for that, I have provided you in the handout with a short story. And I would like you to read it thoroughly, attentively, and underline if there are any difficult words for you, if there are any difficult expressions for you. But basically, stories are for entertainment, for enjoyment. So don't forget to enjoy reading the story. But at the same time, you will also note certain expressions of gratitude in it. So with this, we come to the end of today's lecture. I hope you learned quite a lot today, and I also hope that you will form pairs and you will form groups and you will try to practice all the points that you have learned today, because without practice it can't be called functional English, right? And now probably you are aware of the pattern of functional English lectures. In each lecture we will be focusing on certain functions that we need to perform in the society, like introducing someone. We learned it in the first lesson, in the first lecture, and then we learned how to make polite inquiries and requests. And in lecture 3 we learned very important social interaction skills, and they are greetings and gratitude. And in greetings we included everything. So I hope that today you have learned a lot, and you would definitely exercise. Today actually you have learned integrated skills. So you listened to an audio, you also are given a writing task, and you are also provided with reading passage, a short story. So wish you best. Thank you.